What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video we're back with the predictions for UFC Fight Night Imavov versus Dolidze. We're back in the world's most famous Apex. There's some fun fights on the card, a great co-main event and a great main event, and then just some other decent fights on the card. So we're going to go through every single fight, starting with the more minor fights or the prelims. So let's get started. First fight on the card, Peterson versus Pogues. Two fat, abominable heavyweights that are basically just melting with their flab and their awful physiques. But I'm going to go with Jamal Pogues. I reckon he might get a TKO if Peterson gasses, because I saw Peterson at weigh-ins and that man is obese. Let's just say that. The next fight on the card, Quinones versus Medeiros. It's actually a really good fight. I've been going back and forth on this. I'm going to take Landon Quinones because he is an underdog and I do think he's got a great shot to win. He looked good against Haqparast. I think he can get it done. I'm just not too sure about Medeiros yet, but he might prove me wrong, might get a big finish. But I just reckon, I don't know, Quinones didn't look amazing on Tough, but then he came in and looked great against Haqparast. He actually put the pressure on him and he looked good. So I reckon I've got him winning this fight. Karolina versus Stoliarenko. I've got Stoliarenko winning by submission. Karolina didn't look good on the scale at all. Stoliarenko's favoured, but I'm seeing more people actually picking Karolina. So I'm going to take Stoliarenko by submission. Lee versus Blake Bilder. I'm going with Jong Hong Lee just simply because Blake Bilder, he made it competitive with Shane Young, and that's just not what you want to be doing. So I'm taking Jong Yong Lee, but he's very unproven, so I don't know if he wins. Themba Gorimbo, I'm taking him to beat Pete Rodriguez, just because Pete Rodriguez is just, let's say, not good in any way. Taking Themba Gorimbo to win that. A submission. Then I'm taking Azat Maxim to beat Charles Johnson by decision, just because Charles Johnson gets taken down a whole lot, and Azat Maxim, you know, he's Kazakhstani, he's going to be shooting takedowns, I can assure you of that much. So he'll get the takedowns, and I think he gets a decision. I'm pretty confident that he wins. Molly McCann's rematching Diana Belvita for whatever reason. She smoked her the last time they fought. I have no reason to think it goes differently. I'm taking McCann by unanimous decision. Then we got Radke against Urbina. As much as it pains me to pick against based Charles Radke for his message to the Sydney crowd, you know, I'm going to have to go with Urbina by TKO. I just think he's actually pretty good, and Radke, as much as I don't want to say it, he did struggle with Blood Diamond. And then finally, I'm taking Kizriev to win by submission against Makhmudmuradov, because I just don't rate Makhmudmuradov at all, so I'm going to take the undefeated guy. But we'll get moving on to the more major fights, or the main card fights. But let's get started with Natalia Silva versus Viviane Araujo. I am taking Natalia Silva to win this fight by 30-27 decision. I'm relatively confident she gets it done. She's a big favourite on the odds, which is not appealing. She's at like minus 350, which is just too much. In her fights recently, she's done a whole lot of nothing, to be honest. She looks pretty good technically, but she's doing a whole lot of feints and a whole lot of fakes and not a whole lot of damage. So I'm going to still take her to win just because she does have an appealing... She's got the Israel Adesanya style of... It looks like you're doing more than you are, and so the judges automatically give you the win. So I'm going to take her by 30-27 decision just because I think she's way technically better, and Araujo has not finished anyone in quite some time, so I don't think she catches her at all. I'm taking Silva to win, but I do think she's a little bit overrated. Maybe she proves me wrong, puts on a dominant performance, but I've got her winning this fight regardless. So yeah, we move on though to the next fight. We've got Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikhov. This fight was booked for UFC 296. Randy Brown pulled out with health issues, but that doesn't really concern me. You know, he's younger. Salikhov's only going to be getting older, and I do think that Randy Brown's going to get this one done by decision. I could see him getting a TKO if he can really put the punches together, but he doesn't really go for the finish a whole lot. He's a lot more content to just stick at range. He's got the big reach advantage. Salikhov is aging, and he's got a bit of a sus chin, but Brown, I feel like he could have a good style to get finishes, but he just never seems to, you know, want to put on like any pressure or actually throw hard shots. He just wants to just throw some jabs and be a budget Adesanya. But I'm going to take him to win by 30-27 decision. You know, yeah, Salikhov ain't that good. He gets tagged up a bit. He beat Andre Fiallo, like sick. Who did he lose to? He lost to someone who ain't good. He got chinned brutally by Ling Jing Liang. So I've got Randy Brown winning this fight quite comfortably. I'd like to see him get a finish. I'm not overly confident that it happens. He could get caught by like a wild shot because Salikhov does still hit pretty hard, but I don't see him getting caught with like a spinning wheel kick or something. That seems like a typical Andre Fialho type of move to get, just stand still and get wheel kicked. But we're going to move on to the next fight. Renato Moicano versus Drew Dober. I'm going to take Drew Dober to win this fight by round 1 TKO. The layoff for Moicano is something that worries me tremendously. He's a big favourite, well, not big favourite, but he's a pretty moderate sized favourite. It was around minus 200, but I just think that's not a good line for someone who wants this fight. Well, he hasn't fought in 15 months. I'm pretty sure it'll be by the time they step in the cage. So I don't like that at all for Moicano. I think he's going to be a bit rusty. He's not going to be super reactive at first, having the big shots thrown at him. And I do think that Drew Dober can lay down some leather and crack that chin a couple times. And we've seen Moicano, he got dropped and put away by Fazeev. He got put away by Zombie, Aldo, these guys. Like he gets finished in a lot of his fights when he fights the guys that just, have a bit of oomph on the shots. Even RDA didn't finish him, but he kind of just beat him up for 5 rounds. I know it was a short notice fight, as Moicano told you after his win against Brad Riddell, but it's like, I don't know, Brad Riddell just seemed like a very favourable matchup for him in hindsight. Brad Riddell also just doesn't seem like he's all that 100% focused on his career. Like, it seems like he has patches of wanting to be a fighter and then patches of just wanting to be a coach. Because since then, Brad Riddell hasn't fought since the Moicano fight either, and he's going to be coming back in March, so he's going to have an even longer layoff than Moicano. So I just don't know how committed Riddell is to the game. I do know Brad Riddell beat Drew Dober, but different style matchup. I do think Dober's going to be strong enough to stuff off the takedowns early. And just on the feet, I don't like this for Moicano. I think even though his technical striking ain't bad, he just sometimes leaves his head open to get caught, and Dober, he hits very hard. I don't see Moicano cracking or putting down Dober. Like, it took Frivola the Ginger to even, to TKO Drew Dober. No one's going to, flatline KO this guy. I don't think Moicano's going to drop him or anything. We saw that even though Bobby Green was clearly the more technical striker, Dober just kind of walked through it and just took a few shots and then landed bigger ones and then put him away. So I could see a similar thing happening there. Moicano feels like, I've got the range here, I'm comfortable, I'm popping this guy up at range, I reckon I got this done, and then, Dober just eats, a 1-2, and then just comes through with a big, overhand or a big hook or something, and then Moicano's like, what the fuck, I thought I was just tuning this guy up at range. So, I do have Drew Dober winning this fight, Moicano, as I said, he's got the grappling, but just Dober, I rate his, I think he's just strong, so I think he can stuff the takedowns early. He's been preparing for this fight for a hot minute. I know Moicano has as well, but when you're preparing for a grappler for longer, I do think it favours the striker that is, trying to stuff the takedowns. Dober's got some good training partners. He's going to be working on that, and I think he's just big enough and strong enough to shuck off the takedowns and stuff the grappling exchanges early and then just put leather on him on the feet and get that one done. So I'm picking Drew Dober to win by round 1 TKO, but I could definitely see Moicano winning and having a funny call out, but I'm going to go with Drew Dober by TKO with a right hand and then ground and pound. I don't think he's going to put him out cold, but I think he gets him out of there in round 1. We move on though to the main event. Nassourdine Imavov versus Roman Dolidze. I am taking Nassourdine Imavov to win this fight by, I'm saying, either TKO late or decision. I rate Imavov's technical striking way more. He's way quicker than Roman Dolidze in my books. If you look at Dolidze's fight with Marvin Vettori, I know a lot of people thought he won that fight, but if you rewatch it, a lot of those shots just aren't connecting. He's swinging a whole lot of nothing, doing a whole lot of nothing, and Vettori was kind of just landing the better shots, and I know if those shots land on Imavov, it could be trouble, but Vettori's kind of developed this I don't care about defense just because my chin is so good attitude, and he just takes shots, but I don't think Imavov's going to be there for those big shots. He was getting cracked a little bit by Buckley late in their fight, but that was a really high pace. He went 5 rounds with Strickland when he was preparing for a 5-rounder. I'm sure he'll be doing the same here. His cardio is great. I do think his cardio is a lot better than Roman Dolidze. If you remember the Strickland fight, I know it was short notice, but if you think about it, it's not like Strickland hadn't fought in a year and he was coming in on on 2 days' notice to fight. Like, he was coming off a big training camp, coming off a fight with Cannonier, so he was in shape already. Like, he probably was getting to the point where he might have been putting on a few, and that's why it was at light heavyweight. But Strickland's normally the guy that drowns people later in fights, and Imavov took the 5th round. I scored that fight 3 rounds to 2 for Imavov, and I picked Strickland in that fight too on short notice as an underdog. So, and Imavov, even though Imavov was expected to win, a lot of people go like, oh, he's overrated, he sucks. Think about that now. That's a really underrated, not win because he lost, but it's an underrated performance, because I think people just wrote him off after that and was like, oh, he lost to Strickland, he's going to just be like one of the Jack Hermanssons. But like, it's different. He actually had a bit more success, in my opinion, and I think he did better than anyone apart from Dricus and Cannonier and Pereira recently. Like, the guys that have had success against Strickland recently, Pereira chinned him, Cannonier went close with him 3 rounds to 2, but if you think about it, you could have scored that fight 4 rounds to 1 for Strickland. You could have scored Imavov 4 rounds to 1 for Strickland too, but obviously there was more of an argument that Cannonier won than Imavov, but Imavov did great. He won the 5th round against Strickland. He was like, Strickland was actually gassing more than Imavov. I know obviously the short notice factor, but I rate that performance very highly, and I also, when I look at that, I rate that performance in terms of avoiding the big shots, because Dolidze's a guy that if he's going to get you on the feet, he really needs to just put the leather on you and get some big punches going, and I just don't see him doing that here against Imavov, who's got great back and forth movement. He slips out of the way of shots very well. He moves off a lot. Dolidze's a guy that kind of just likes to plod forward, similar to Marvin Vettori, and that's why those two just kind of slugged it out and just threw some shots and just chucked leather at each other. But I don't see Imavov's defense being as poor as Vettori. Obviously, he doesn't have the same chin as Vettori, of course, but I think he is a better all-round fighter than Vettori, and I thought Vettori won that Dolidze fight 2 rounds to 1. The 30-27 scorecard was questionable, but again, Dolidze, he beat Hermansson, and everyone's like, oh my god, this guy is just an absolute wizard on the ground. If he even gets hold of you, he's just going to smoke you. Like, he won that. He's got a great guard. Fair play to him. I don't see Imavov going into the guard, because Hermansson, if you remember that fight, was just tuning him up on the feet. Like, Dolidze was having literally no moments. And I know Hermansson's a solid fighter. Like, he's a great fighter. He was relatively competitive with Strickland too. But, yeah, I just don't think Hermansson's like as good of a striker as Imavov. And he was tuning up Dolidze and only lost that fight because for some reason he was just retarded and just shot a takedown, got himself fucking calf sliced and then just TKO'd because he's dumb as fuck. So I don't see Imavov doing that. I do think even Imavov's probably got better grappling than Hermansson. He doesn't use it a whole lot. He likes to strike, but I watched the Buckley fight again. I know Buckley's not that good, but he was like literally just schooling Buckley for 2 rounds. And then Buckley, it's one of those fights where the guy's losing and the guy that's winning just doesn't really care, and the guy that's losing just tries to throw everything and have a great round. So fair play, Buckley did well. But even Buckley, I think, is probably a similar level of striker to Dolidze, to be honest. You guys might disagree with that, but just me personally, I think Imavov's just going to tune him up, beat him up. Dolidze's got a good chin. I could even see it going distance. I could see him lasting the whole 5 rounds, and just Imavov just is content to just keep popping him at range. But I think he's going to want to put on a statement performance. I think he's going to want to, put him away. I don't think he's going to drop or flatten him or really badly put him away, but I think he's just going to beat him up and get like a standing TKO, just overwhelming him. Dolidze is going to be gassed out, and he's going to get a TKO in the 4th or 5th round, but a 50-45 decision or 49-46 is also very likely in my books, but I'm picking Imavov with pretty high confidence as long as he doesn't go to the ground. Even if he does, I feel like he could probably keep himself out of a bit of trouble, but you just save yourself the effort, stay on the feet, get it done easily, and after this, if Imavov gets this one done, I would like to see him fight the winner of this should fight, in my opinion, either Vettori if he loses to Brendan Allen, or the Whitaker-Costa loser, because they would definitely deserve a fight up. And the loser of this, I think, is going to fight the winner of Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. So that's doing some early matchmaking there, but I think Imavov's going to get this one done comfortably, confidently, 5-0, 4-1, or a TKO somewhere in the later rounds, depending on how badly, if Dolidze does gas or not. But I got him getting it done, but Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the predictions. Pretty quick picks. I didn't want to fucking waffle about prelims for ages. Lucas Tracy did a 40-minute video. I'm still going to do better than on picks, so I ain't need a waffle for 40 minutes. Just get the point across. Some quick picks for the prelims and a bit more in-depth breakdown for the major fights, especially the co-main and the main event. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I'm going to go live for the Fight Companion tomorrow, so tune in on the channel. I'll probably do the full card, but I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, tune in, like, subscribe, all that shit. Leave a comment on your predictions. Follow my Instagram, Left Lane MMA. Subscribe to my Patreon to support the channel because I don't get monetized. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace out.